In a previous episode, we made this new template shape to accent the front of our new subwoofer box. The final shape has pressed grill mesh in order to accent the overall look of the template. Formed grill mesh can be used over speakers, over a port, or just as an accent like it is in this case. And in this episode, I'm going to show you how it's done. In order to make formed grill mesh, we need to have a male and female template shape that will match together to form the mesh. Although there are many different options, this diamond mesh is one of my favorites as it always forms really easily. As always, everything that is used in this video will be linked down in the video description. Now that you have an overall idea what my mold box looks like, I'm going to show you how I made it. I made these template pieces in a previous video. I don't want to spend too much time talking about them because this video is focused on the grill mesh, but just know that you need to create an inside and an outside shape that has a gap between the two shapes. I'll give you a link for how these templates are made at the end of this video. Let's start making our mold box. I began with cutting a 12-inch wide piece of wood. I then split this wood perfectly down the center. This will be the top and bottom of my mold box. It's critical that the top and bottom of the mold box are absolutely square and the exact same size, so what I'm doing is sticking the two pieces together and then using a flush trim bit on the router to make sure they're exactly the same. Now I've also made several 4-inch wide strips and I'm adding a 45-degree chamfer to them. These pieces are then attached to the side of the bottom of our mold box, and they help to guide the top piece so that it's perfectly square. In a previous video, I showed how to make that consistent gap between the two different template shapes. Since the templates are made out of 1/2-inch thick material and they'll draw the metal a 1/2 inch thick, I'm going to be using 3/16 inch of a gap between the different template pieces. Conveniently enough, the smart templates that I showed in a previous episode are already gapped at 3/16 of an inch between the pieces. If you were going for a deeper draw, say 3/4 of an inch, you would want to use a larger gap, something like 3/8 or even a 1/2 inch. This deeper gap is something that can easily be accomplished using the bit tray kit, but that's a whole different tutorial that I've already made. Link will be at the end of this video and in the video description. For now, we need to add a chamfer to the inside of the two of our template pieces. Now you can see here I've made a copy of each side which allows me to maximize the chamfer on the piece that we'll be using. You absolutely have to add some sort of chamfer to the inside pieces, otherwise the two pieces will act as a shear rather than a mold. With our outer and inner template shapes made, we can start assembling the mold box. I apply template tape to the inner template shape and then stick it to the bottom of the mold box. Now I've seen many people use glue, but I like to reuse my mold boxes, so that's why I'm just using this double-sided sticky tape. If you're molding a thick mesh though, you should probably take the time to glue the pieces together. After aligning my outer template shape, I'm putting template tape on the top of it. This way I can put the top of the mold box on the piece and then the templates automatically stick in the location that I need it to be. With the mold box complete, it's time to mold some mesh. I started with cutting this rectangle of mesh. It's the same size as my box. It's important that you cut the mesh large enough oversize because much of it is going to pull up into the inside of the shape. In order to mold the mesh, I'll be using a 12-ton shop press. I picked this up at my local hardware store for around $100. I place my mold box within the press and then apply one of the plates onto the top of it. This helps to evenly distribute the pressure. Next, I start pumping the hydraulic cylinder which pushes the two halves of our mold box together. Now do understand that it's best practice that you actually move around the pads multiple different times and press in different spots along the template shape just to absolutely ensure that the piece is fully molded. This is even more critically important when making a long template shape. With the molding process complete, we can remove the top half of the mold box and reveal our newly formed metal mesh. I set my mesh within the template shape and I'm drawing a line using a marker on the back side of it so that I know where to cut it. The diamond mesh that I'm using is actually thin enough that I'm able to cut it with a pair of heavy-duty scissors. Now I wanted to tell you that I also added a rabbited groove to the back side of that outer wooden template. This allows the mesh to sit perfectly flush within the piece. Now also note that I've added a 45-degree chamfer on the inside of that outer template shape. I've also primed that piece, preparing it for paint. In the next video, I'll be showing you how we finalize the wrapping of these pieces and the painting and the overall wrapping of the box. But at least for now, you know how to make this molded grill mesh. Now I know that I haven't made a video in quite a while, it's been about 6 weeks, I had some personal matters I had to attend to, but I'm glad that you guys stuck around and I really appreciate all the support. I really want to continue to build this community of fabricators, so if you can post a comment down below telling me what you think of the video, I'd appreciate it. I'd also like to issue a challenge. If you guys go about making some molded grill mesh, I'd like to know about it. Make a video on YouTube and post the link down in the comments of this video. Thank you again for watching. A special thanks to Nathan Coleman, Jerry Gibson, Jason Marble, Cliff Bryans, and all the other Patreon supporters. Patreon is a website that allows me to connect with you guys and for you guys to help support the making of future videos. To learn more, click the link in the lower left-hand corner.